Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today for our weekly office hours. I'm George Soto, one of the co founders here at Asset Mule, joined by my co founder, Justin Dorfman. And we're super excited today to dive into the top five sales assets that SaaS companies need. Now, if y'all are familiar with us, Justin and I have been in SaaS for a long time. and we've seen a lot of different assets, and we've been both on the sales and marketing side, and also as entrepreneurs you're kind of on every side of every angle of every part of a company. So thought a lot about this stuff. Today we're going to dive into those assets, and if you do have any questions, comments, feedback, go ahead and add them in the comments area. You're probably watching this on LinkedIn or YouTube, and so any and all feedback is more than appreciated. We actually would love that. Now, if it's super urgent, we'll get to it right away. If you're like, hey, I got to go and like eat lunch or have some coffee or whatnot, can you answer this question or whatnot? Let us know. We'll get to it. If not, we're going to have a Q&A period at the end of the session today, which will focus on getting into your questions and feedback and so on. So without further ado, Justin, why don't you take it away?
Yeah. So this is a fun one to dive into. And what we're going to do today is as George mentioned, is walk through the top five sales assets that we believe every SaaS company needs. And the way that we thought about this and the way that we think about assets in general um, is assets are there to give your buyer the information they need when they need it, right? To feel confident and comfortable in moving to the next step of their buyer's journey. So the way that we selected these five assets is we really thought about the buyer's journey. And when we think about the buyer's journey, we think about a couple of different phases or steps, right? The awareness phase, the consideration stage, the decision stage, and then post-purchase, the success stage. So we tried to think of five assets that sit across those stages so that, if you were to just have these five assets, you'd be in a really good starting point to help your buyer at each of those stages move to the next stage and ultimately make a purchasing decision. So that's the way that we thought about it. And what I'm going to do today is show you that actually each one of these templates or assets, we have templates for in our system. So if you like these five assets, you want to create them for yourself immediately, you can sign up for Asset Mule, or if you're already a user, you can go to the Asset Mule library, and all five of these are actually in there already. All you need to do is add your theme and add your content to it, and you're good to go. And what we'll also do is I'm going to show you our version of these. So with our own content in there already, our own theme in there already, so that you can see what a finished product looks like. And then I have two bonus things that we'll show you. So after we show you the five assets, I'm going to show you how you can actually organize those assets along the buyer's journey. So you can align the asset with the stage that your sales team will want to use those assets at. And I'll also show you how you can share all those assets on one page, what we call an asset hub, so that your buyers don't need to sort of dig through their inboxes and try and find all the different links for each of the assets. They can just find them all in one page, organized and curated for them. So that's what we're going to cover today. So let's dive in. I'm going to share my screen. And in a moment, George, just let me know if you can see it. Perfect. So as I mentioned, Asset Mule comes with a library of templates that you can actually use to make your own template library as well. You can just add your what we call theme, your brand colors and fonts to these templates, add your content to these templates, and then they're ready for you to use. And we have everything from one pagers to case studies and competitive pages, proposals, getting started guides. These are, and we're continuing to build these out, right? And again, the idea here is to give you everything you need to start populating your own library. So as I mentioned, we're going to go through five. If you were to choose five only to have, that's what we're going to cover today. And again, we're thinking about this along the buyer's journey. So if we start with the awareness stage, right? I like to think about what are our buyers at that stage thinking about, or what questions are they asking? What objections might they have? And the key question in the awareness stage is usually just, who are you, right? What do you guys do? And how is it relevant to me, right? How does it address challenges, or how will it help me achieve goals I have, right? So in this stage, one of the core assets that you're going to need is a one pager. And you'll see here, we have many different options of one pagers. We have our own one, which I'll walk you through, but also a one pager just with images, a one pager where you can start integrating product videos, and then an interactive one pager that actually includes things like an interactive demo. And that's the one that I'm going to show you today, because that's what we use. So when you create these templates for yourself, they're going to get saved in the team tab for your team to find and use. And you'll see here our own Asset Mule interactive one pager, and just walking you through it and how it answers those questions, right, that the buyer had. So first of all, we really love to personalize here at Asset Mule. So you see a lot of our assets start with our logo here, and leaving a space so that we can quickly and easily add our prospect's logo just by putting in their website URL, and Asset Mule will find logos for them for you to populate in here. So we start with that personalized header section, and then we go straight into our value proposition here. In our case, it's creating interactive sales assets in minutes. And then, what we like to say is we like to show, not tell, right? So we actually embedded a interactive demo in our one pager. We use our story lane component. So if you're a story lane user, you can easily grab your story lane share link and embed your story lane interactive demo into the assets. If you're not a Storylane user, you can start for free. Storylane has a free tier that gives you one free demo that you can create. And very quickly and easily, you can build one that you can then embed in your one pager. If you don't want to use the Storylane component, if you have a Nevadic demo or Howdy Go demo, Walnut demo, we also have an embed code component that you could easily swap out here. You can delete the Storylane component, instead use the embed code component and embed your interactive demos that way. But continue to go down, we want to add some social proof here. So we show our customers, some of our customers here that are using our product. And then again, to answer that question, what do you guys do? How's it relevant for me, right? We have some feature highlights here, what the prospect can do with Asset Mule. Just highlighting a couple of these here. And then again, to sort of sandwich that with that social proof, we want to add a relevant quote for that prospect from a persona or a industry that's relevant, maybe talking about a use case or challenge that they're overcoming with Asset Mule that's relevant to the prospect here. We highlight the different teams that use Asset Mule as well, so it's very clear how it's used within an organization. And then finally, to convert these prospects into meetings, we include our calendar here, which again, we're just using our embed code component. We use Calendly, but you can use Chili Piper or HubSpot Calendar and just grab that embed code to embed it in here. So that's the first asset that every SaaS company should have, is a one pager that they can personalize quickly and really answer that question to the prospect of, who are you guys, what do you do, and how is it relevant for me? So going back to our templates here, the next template that I want to highlight is the next asset, let's say, is in the consideration stage. So once you get into the consideration stage with the buyer, they're now asking, they understand who you are, what you do, how it's relevant for them, but they want some social proof. They want to know who else is using you guys and how are they using you and what sort of results, and particularly who else that is similar to me as a company, right? So we have a bunch of case study templates that you can use here, and that's the second asset that we would recommend here. We've got a case study template, again, with images, case study template where you can start to bring in those videos, testimonial videos, demo videos, and a case study template where, again, you can bring in that interactive demo. And when it comes to our own, we have a case study with Parsable, an awesome company that we've been working with for about a year now, really highlighting how they've used Asset Mule to drive conversions in booked meetings for their SDR team. So their product marketer had built a set of assets that the SDR team can use in their outbound strategy. And they've been able to achieve a 33% conversion rate to book meetings using Asset Mule and the interactive assets. So we're really showcasing this by showing, again, an interactive demo of how they've been using Asset Mule, um, and highlighting the core problem that they had before using Asset Mule, how Asset Mule was a great solution for them to overcome those challenges and those key results, right? Really to show the numbers behind this story here and how they're experiencing success. And then again, pulling in a quote to bring it to life. And then finally that calendar at the bottom there to sort of capitalize on that interest and social proof to get that booked meeting. So that's the second asset that we would recommend. And again, that's the consideration stage. But still staying in the consideration stage here, another question that a lot of buyers start to ask at this stage is, well, how are you different from XYZ solution that I'm using already today, right? Or how are you different than these 3, 4, 5 solutions that I've seen in the market, maybe some of them that I'm considering as well. So in that case, competitive comparison pages are really, really valuable. And again, you'll see we have a couple for you to choose from here. And you'll notice a little bit of a trend here. We want to make it so that you can easily create these, whether you have videos, interactive demos, or you don't, right? So we have a competitive comparison page that doesn't have video or interactive demos, that just includes, you know, product screenshots you can add in there and so on, images. And then we have the more interactive version where, again, you can start to bring in videos and interactive demos and so on. So for us, we get asked a lot, especially from later stage companies, how are you different than HighSpot, right? A traditional sales enablement solution. So we've created our own Asset Mill versus HighSpot competitive page where we highlight how we're different, key things that make us different from them. In our case, easier to use lightweight solution, more affordable and scalable pricing, and the ability not just to manage assets and manage PDFs, but create actually these interactive assets. And again, we want to sort of show, not just tell. So we bring in a interactive demo here that the prospect can walk through and really see, how we're different, beyond just images, product screenshots. And then, of course, the competitive comparison table, right? We want to put ourselves side by side and show when we say, more affordable solution, we start for free instead of, $20K a year, showing again that differentiation of the ability to create templates and assets, personalize them, interactive beyond static, and so on. And then again, you want to sort of bring in some relevant social proof. So we've got some logos here, and then we've got a quote from a customer who actually was a HighSpot user prior to Asset Mule and ended up switching for many of these reasons. So again, when you're thinking about these quotes that you want to include in your competitive page, if you're able to find one that speaks specifically to somebody that moved over from a competitor or was considering a competitor and decided to go in your direction, those are the best to bring in there. And then finally, again, we like, as you see here in a lot of our assets, to have that call to action, to have that ability for the prospect then to capitalize on their interest and book a meeting here. So that's the third of the assets. Now let's get into the decision-making stage. So this is where your buyer, your prospect, your champion, hopefully at this point, right? If they see the light, right, and they see that you're the right solution, is starting to bring in other stakeholders and try and get that approval for that purchase. So a core asset here to bring everything together and answer some of these key questions that maybe these other stakeholders might have is a proposal. And you'll see we have a proposal template in the Asset Mule library that you can use. And again, the questions that they're asking here are things like, how much is this going to cost, right? What sort of support do you provide to ensure my success? Do you provide professional services, right? They're also going to ask things like, how fast are we going to get this implemented? And how are you going to support us in that process? What does that implementation plan look like, right? So these are all things that you're going to want to answer in your proposal. And again, let's hop over to our proposal here. And here again, since there's a bunch of stakeholders that are being brought into the conversation that we may not have the opportunity to speak to, we want to really personalize this. And more than personalize this, we want to bring some human touch to this as well, right? And that's why I like to not just add the company's name here, but also put in a quick Loom video, 46 second in this case, a Loom video, just introducing myself to those that I haven't been able to meet, and sort of adding a face to a proposal in this case, right? And again, we want to personalize it really down to our understanding of their business. What's the current state? What are the challenges that they're facing that they want to overcome? What are the goals that they're trying to achieve? So from those discovery calls, from those demos, from those notes that you've taken, you want to put in a couple bullet points here. And then specifically how we can help, right? And build that confidence that we're the right solution, that we specifically are built to solve these problems. And then again, we want to bring it to life, right? Again, a lot of these prospects, the stakeholders, excuse me, may not have been in a demo, right? And they may not have seen the product live and in action. So whether you're putting in an interactive demo like this, or a demo video, or even just highlighting some key features, you really want to bring your solution to life so that they can see specifically how it can be used to address those challenges and those goals. And then answering those key questions. How are we going to support them? So a little bit on the customer success program here. Do we have professional services? In our case, we do. It's optional, additional professional services around template building and snippet importing services and so on, that we have another page for, so that's linked here. Of course, the pricing here. And then again, how are we going to help them get set up, experience that success? So we create a mutual action plan here, where we start to put in some actions, some key dates, and usually you'll have a conversation with your champion about when they're looking to get started, and you'll want to work your way back from that, that all the way through sort of the evaluation stage, and use this as a tool for really keeping them on track and making sure that all these items are being checked off, and various stakeholders are seeing this and approving and so on, so that we can hit their deadline. And then finally ending it again with some social proof, a case study here, a link to that case study that I actually showed you earlier, a quote, and then again, if they have any questions, the calendar, just one click away, that they can schedule time, in this case with me. So that's the fourth. And now let's go to the final stage here, which is success, right? Okay, we've managed to get them on board and signed up for your product. Now we want to ensure their success. We want to make sure that they get up and running quickly, they experience value, because we're already thinking about retention, right? And we know that in those first couple of weeks, it's critical to activate them for us to get that renewal. That renewal is really won in those early days. So one of our core assets that we use for that is our getting started guides. And you'll see, again, a couple of different options here that you can choose from. But the idea is to really outline those 3 to 5 steps that they need to take to really get set up, get up and running, and experience the value. And again, hopping over to our version here, you'll see it starts with a welcome message, welcoming them on board. Again, more stakeholders, users might be brought into the equation that weren't part of the purchasing process here. So I like to add that video, put a face to a company, right? And add that human touch there. And then we dive into those, in our case, 5 steps, right? Setting up your brand theme, creating your first template, creating custom templates, populating that snippet library, right? And then ultimately, using those templates and those snippets to create personalized assets and sharing them and tracking them and so on. So, just quick videos for each one of these so that they can work their way through, really understand their way around the product, and experience that value for themselves very, very quickly here. And again, we always want to make sure that we're one click away from supporting them. So we've got the calendar there. So those are the 5 assets, right? We talked about the one pager in the awareness stage to answer those questions of who you are, what you do, how you can help. The case studies in the consideration stage, answering the question of who else is using you guys, and what results, how are they using you and what results are they experiencing. Also in the consideration stage, the competitive pages to answer the question of how you're different than existing solutions they may be using or solutions they may be considering. In the decision stage, answering the questions for both your champion and the stakeholders that are starting to be brought in of, how much is this going to cost? How are you going to support them in getting set up and experiencing value? What's the plan for implementation, and so on. And then finally, post sale, really setting them up for success, for experiencing value as quickly as possible with the getting started guide, and setting yourself up for retaining and renewing that customer. So those are the 5 assets. Now, 2 bonus things that I want to share here. The first is it's great. We've got all these assets here, right? Templates in this case that we can use, but how can we organize this in a way so that our sales team knows which assets to use or which templates to use at what time? So what's really great about this is we have the ability to actually align each of these templates with the various stages of the buyer's journey. So if I go here, you'll see in the template settings, the stages of the buyer's journey: awareness, consideration, decision, and success. So all you have to do is select the stage that you want to align this to. And then when you go back to the template section, or when your sales team goes to the template section, if they navigate from gallery view to buyer's journey view, they can now see all the templates that are available for them to take advantage of at those various stages. And you'll see the ones that we just walked through: the interactive one pager. And again, this is for our account. The case study, parsable case study, and the competitive pages for the consideration stage, the proposal for the decision stage, and the getting started guides for the success stage. So that's really, really helpful in just organizing things in an actionable way so that your sales team knows what to use when, and they're really providing your buyers the information they need when they need it to move to the next stage and really accelerate the sales process. We feel strongly at Asset Mule that assets are an accelerant when used correctly for sales cycles. And we've seen it with our customers, reducing sales cycles by as much as 66%. So going from 90 days to 30 days sales cycles by giving that information at the right time and really answering all those questions. But the other thing, the second bonus I want to show you here is there's a ton of assets that you might be sending your buyers throughout the buying process. How do you send it to them in a really organized way so that they don't have to dig through their inboxes and try and find all those links? Well, we also have another template in our library called the Asset Hub, where you can actually just set up one page and embed all of these assets that you're creating throughout the sales process on that page so that they have everything in one place. So I'll give you an example here. Let's say our buyer is Gong. We've used that template to create a asset hub for Gong, where you'll see here my image and a quick, sort of welcome message here. Actually, an idea: instead of an image, you can throw in a video there, right, to make it even more personalized here, like I've showed you in some of the other templates. But then as we go down, here are all those assets that I just showed you, right? The one pager, answering the question of how we're going to help them increase buyer engagement in this case, the case study, right? The differentiation, the comparison page with HighSpot, the proposal, and finally the getting started guide. And what's really great about these pages is they're live pages. So you don't need to put all of these at once. You can follow up after your initial meeting with the one pager and the case study. And then as you find that there's a competitor, spin up that competitive page, add it in here. And then as you get to the decision stage, adding that proposal. And then finally, after you sign them on, adding that getting started guide. And the way you do it is you just add in some text here. You choose the icon that you want to associate with that sort of link here, link bar, and then you start adding your assets in here. And these assets, again, can be assets from Asset Mule. And as you start typing them in, let me just give you an example. Let's say HighSpot here. You'll see any of your assets that you have in your library, you can just pull in easily, but they also don't have to be, right? They can be any URL, a link to a Zoom video, a demo recording, or a link to, a page on your website, like your pricing page and so on. So it's really, really flexible here. And then finally, again, we want to include our calendar so that any questions at any time, they know where to reach us. So when you create these, now you can share them with your buyers, and you can share them as a link. You can share them as a link and a screenshot, or the favorite that we see out there with our customers is this link and animated screenshot, where you just go over to your email when you're sending them to your prospect, pop that in there. It's a really nice, really interactive GIF, really, right? That now they can, that really draws them in, right? And now when they click through to this live assets and they start checking it out and maybe clicking on some of the content that you've put together for them in here, everything that's happening is being tracked by Asset Mule. So you'll see, if I go back to my inbox here, hopefully, there we go. We get a nice view notification of the Asset Hub for Gong. And then within Asset Mule, we can see everything that they did on that page, right? We can see that they viewed the asset, and then what they clicked on, right? They clicked on the parsable case study, right? So that's really, really useful, going beyond those static PDFs where it's really a black box to these interactive, trackable pages where you can actually see, first of all, if there's interest and engagement, right? If there's intent, and then you can actually see what they're doing to really guide your strategy. And we know we're in a remote selling environment now, right? Where we're selling a lot asynchronously. We're not in the room with the buyers. This really gives you a view into what's happening behind closed doors, and give you a sense of if your prospects are engaged and interested, and which ones to prioritize. So I know that's a lot to take in, but that's the walkthrough for today. And again, all of these templates are available in our template library, and you can sign up for Asset Mule for free and get started building your library out and getting those 5 assets in the hands of your sales team.
Awesome. Justin, thank you so much for walking through. We have, I think, historically not really done a great job of truly personalizing and developing assets as they relate to the stages in the buyer's journey, right? Like, and this is just content in general. I remember running content marketing at companies, and and it's sort of like, yes, we put it together in the spreadsheet and said, okay, this is the the steps and the stages and etc. But oftentimes the context that's in the that should be in the asset is something that's collected through the conversations that the salesperson is having, right? So even if you do plan and you go, okay, well, send this when Salesforce is updated at this stage or whatever, it's still not as personalized and as relevant as it should be as the conversation is happening with the prospect. The salesperson again is gathering that context and stuff, and that's why we have salespeople doing this. Otherwise, like, what's the point? And that's one of the things that I really love about this, is that yes, you can absolutely map it in a very intelligent way and organize it to the stages of the buyer's journey, but also there's that flexibility to actually make it relevant for real. Not, oh, this is for X vertical or this is for X use case, but this is for X conversation with X stakeholder at this stage in the in the skies, right? Like, you know what I mean? So um this is what excites me the most, is that we have to be personalized, right? If it's not, we're sort of like, as buyers, going, oh, okay, yeah, I'm a manufacturing company, but this is not what I said. And so, I'm not saying you're going to lose the deal. I mean, there's a lot of different variables there, but if it is very relevant, then they're going to use that thing, right, in ways that they just wouldn't have before. They're going to pay attention, in ways that they just couldn't do in the past. And at the end of the day, it's providing a better customer experience and adding value, which is what we want to do at the end of the day, right? So not just
Yeah.
checking boxes, folks.
There's another I think macro trend that makes this even more important, George, which is that more and more of this sales engagement is offline, right? It's not in person, right? So in the past, I think when most of your interactions, let's say in the good old golden days of sales, right, when most of your interactions were in person, there was enough personal touch just through those interactions that, if you followed up with maybe a more generic asset or something like that, maybe it was doable, right? But now when 83% of your sales process is offline, right? This is the way that you're selling. This is most of your sales activity is happening through these digital channels, right? It's not in person. So you need to take everything that you used to do in terms of personalizing and humanizing that sales experience that used to happen in person and start to embed that in this new channel that you're engaging with buyers. So that's an interesting way to think about it as well. Is taking all that we used to take it for granted before, right? That we got to be in front of them, they got the personal touch, the human touch, and all that stuff, and now trying to replicate that in this remote asynchronous selling environment.
Yeah. Amen. And for the folks out there, there's always been a part of sales where the buyer's sitting around with their colleagues in a meeting, debriefing on that Monday or whatever cadence it was. And they're saying, X vendor came in on, Friday or whatever. And what do y'all think? Right. And this is now happening, to Justin's point, largely in remote environments. And even if you are a hybrid organization, you're now still having way more conversations um, online. And if you're an in-person culture, there's still that component too, right, where you're still having uh, Slack up or Microsoft Teams and whatever. So instead of, because people are wanting to be more efficient than ever, right? And so, great organizations are creating work environments that have the best of both worlds, right? So these experiences, when someone does Slack or Microsoft Teams, an asset to a channel or to a DM or whatnot, this is what we're talking about here. These are the experiences that thrive and should add value in those environments. So without further ado, thank you so much, everyone. I know we're a couple minutes over. Justin, I really appreciate you just going through that really in such an amazing, eloquent way. Hopefully folks have really gathered the kind of the key pieces here, and you can take this and hit the ground running here in 20. I was going to say 2023. God, time flies so much. And here in
Not even 24.
2025, yeah, it's not even 24 anymore. 2025. I think the aliens are showing themselves more now. Um, everything seems wild. So to all the indigenous cultures out there who've been telling us about this, thank you. I appreciate it. It's all coming true. But speaking of awesome, wild things, if you do think that Asset Mule is something you want to kick the tires on, as Justin mentioned, you can go to assetmule.ai, sign up. It's completely free to get started and kick the tires on it. If you're an existing user, thank you so much. Thank you for learning more and spending the time here with us to learn more about what we're working on. If you love our content, go ahead and click on subscribe if you're on YouTube, or follow us if you're on LinkedIn. We're constantly putting out podcasts and all kinds of other pieces of content. So thank you so much. Have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your week, and talk to you next week.